Hey everybody, welcome to today's stream. Hopefully you guys saw the splash screen. So we have rebranded officially, everything's rolling. So I'm pretty excited about that. For anybody that didn't see the video already, probably most of you guys that are here did see it. But I rebranded. This is something that I've been wanting to do for years at this point. But it was one of those things that I always pushed off because I knew it was going to be quite an undertaking and maybe a little risky, I guess. A lot of people I've gotten comments like, oh, I don't know, that you're braver than me. And I'm like, I don't really think anything's going to happen to the business necessarily. It's just I wanted to change the name. So if you didn't see that video, it's up, and I kind of went in depth about, like what was going on with everything. Mainly, the simple answer is I just wanted to change the name to something that had to do with resin casting because I don't really do woodworking anymore. That's the main big thing. And I also wanted to get a new website. I had been having some issues with my old one. So this was something that I've wanted to do anyway, is get a better website. But I also wanted to kind of change the how things worked on the website and made it a little bit easier for people to kind of navigate, just kind of get everything right up front, reorganize some stuff. So it's gone really well. The website is working fine. We haven't had one problem with the website, which is, I gotta be honest, that's actually kind of crazy. So it's going good. We're having a huge sale for the launch of the website. 15% off all the rest of this month. And just to let people know, I am going to be doing a couple of Black Friday deals. I don't exactly know how that's going to work with like the discount codes and all that stuff. I think you have to pick one or the other, the way that Shopify works, but I will be doing some of that stuff down the road, so I'll announce all that stuff. Make sure that you're signed up to the newsletter, the email newsletter, because we always make sure we get all the information in that. I know it's another thing in the inbox, but just in case I forget to post something on social media or whatever, everything gets into the newsletter. So there's little sign-up forms on the website for that stuff. So anyway, there's the new website address. So don't go to nvwoodworks.com anymore. It'll probably transfer you. Well, pretty soon here, it's going to just, if you do type it in, it's just going to take you to my new website anyway. But check out the new website. Nothing's really changed. All the products are all the same. It's just laid out a little bit better, I think. And frankly, on the back end, I've done some, I've had orders at this point, and I like it a lot more than my old website. It just, things are so much easier with the shipping. And there's like little, I don't know, if anybody's thinking about setting up a website, Shopify, I'm pretty pleased with it. I set up my own WordPress website. That was the old one. And it wasn't particularly hard, but I'll tell you what, this one, the Shopify one, was a lot easier. Now, I do have a little bit of experience with setting up websites, but it's pretty simple. Like, it's like you just say, okay, do this, and then do that. It's all like, just mouse clicks and all that stuff. So pretty cool. And I don't know, I'm not even really using a lot of like extra things. It's like out of the box Shopify rocks. So not sponsored by them in any way. I'm just pretty pleased with their service, and it's pretty cheap too, honestly. So anyway, that's the story with the new website. I need to get new graphics on. I kind of was, the reason we're a little bit late today is I updated the software on the live streaming software thing, and I don't know if it was that or if I had like maybe moved some graphic files or something. I actually did move some stuff around, and all of the splash screen was actually just gone. Like I didn't know where any of it couldn't find any of the graphics. And I was like, well, we got to change it anyway. So I quickly threw in that logo on the splash screen before we started. But I'm going to kind of set up some new stuff. Might even down the road, might even kind of change around things and like add borders and like kind of some of the stuff that you see on a lot of the different live streams. But I am planning on possibly changing the software that I use and stuff. But that's all waiting on me getting a new computer. And I know I've been talking about this for a long time, but I've decided that I don't think it's worth spending the money on the old Mac Mini. I think it would work, but I think that I got a way better chance of getting one of the upgraded ones that they're going to come out with. So I'm waiting on that. And for now, this thing works, and the new camera's working pretty good too. So anyway, all kinds of stuff going on. So today's live stream, what we're going to do, I got to be honest, I am pretty busy. I've been trying to keep up with inventory with that sale going on. And with, launching a new brand and stuff, I didn't have time to really plan a whole lot. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to just focus on dies today. A lot of times we you know, kind of mix and match, and we're using like, you know, powders and dyes and whatever. And I thought, let's just do dyes. That's kind of it's a little bit different than the powders, and that way I can kind of go through, explain a couple things that I know about it, and have a little bit of fun just making up some blanks. I kind of like dye blanks personally. You know, I do the team color ones, so I have a lot of experience, you know, working with dyes on my blanks, and they're pretty fun. I like them. I like the powders too, but let's go for some dyes today. That's kind of what I was thinking. It'll be kind of a little bit of a short stream today, I think, but because I got to get back to making more blanks to fill the website up with again. So anyway, I hope everybody's doing good today. Let's see, who was here? I know that Webfoot David was here first. He was like, hey, where is everyone? And I'm like, dude, I just set up the stream like 1 minute ago. Sorry. I was running a little late today. Let's see, and Frank was right there behind him, and Ann. Daryl's here. Who else is here? I just saw Doug over at Pole Barns here. Welcome. Kim's here. Nice. Everybody's filing in. Dominic's here. Philip's here. What's up, man? And let's see. Bryn's here. Steve's here. I might have missed somebody. I'm kind of, you know, you're scrolling down a screen looking at a bunch of words, and sometimes it gets a little crazy. And Daryl hooked us up with the super chat. Thank you, Daryl. I appreciate it. Harry's here. And Eric. I don't think I missed anybody else. And Mike's here. And Kelly. How's it going? Everybody's here. So, first things first, I forgot to post. Like I said, this week has been kind of nuts with everything going on. And my assistant actually was at Disneyland all weekend, so she was kind of gone. And I don't know if you guys caught it last Wednesday. I was talking about the rebranding and the launch, and I kind of looked at the date. And I honestly, last Wednesday, thought I had a week and a half before the launch was going to happen. And I realized that it was literally happening this weekend. And I was like, oh my God, I got to get a video done. I got to do all this stuff. So it's been a little bit nuts this last week, but it's been honestly really fun, invigorating. I've said that before. This rebranding, not much has changed. It's like literally logos, website, you know, simple stuff. But it's invigorating. It's kind of like starting over a little bit, you know, sort of. So pretty excited about it. I don't know, it injected me with a little bit of life. So anyway, that's pretty fun. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, there's a pop-up on the website, but, and I told you I was running behind. I totally forgot to mention in the video on Sunday, when I was talking about the sale that's going on, the discount. The discount code is launch15. Okay, and a few people didn't enter that. So here's the discount code that you enter during checkout. And again, this is, you can use it as many times as you want, and it's going through the end of the month. And it's 15% off anything on the site. So launch 15, you can enter that, and that'll save you 15% on your orders. It's just a little bit of a thank you to everybody that's kind of stuck with me over the years, everybody that's here now. And also just kind of something, we got a new website, let's celebrate a little bit. So I thought, let's have a big sale. So anyway, there's all that stuff. Now let's show you guys what we got from last week. Like I said, I was a little bit, I forgot to post. So, you know, a short on these. Man, I am super excited about these things though. These things turned out so cool. So we got a couple of handles. And then one thing that's on the website that is not ready yet. There's a few people that were supposed to do some testing with me, and I just could not get everything set up. What we're going to do is these guys are going to go in the mystery boxes. I've been saving blanks for that. I'm going to have, initially there's going to be 3 people, the original 3 that kind of started, that said they wanted to help test. And I'm going to keep doing that because I want to test that system out first. So we'll have some pen blanks for people, and those handles. I need to make one more handle. But these things, man, I mean, I got to be honest. I love this, like the shape holographic glitter. And I think that I want to start like kind of expanding, randomly do some more, different types, because there's like hundreds, thousands of different types of glitters that are always kind of fun to make stuff with. And they're pretty simple. So if you didn't see that video, this is kind of a stumbling block trying to suspend things in resin. So make sure to go back and watch last Wednesday's replay on how to do this. And I've done it, in the past. I think it's always good to kind of redo that, because that's one thing that a lot of people like to do. The one caveat with doing this type of stuff, it's a little bit more difficult, I find, with part of this is because I don't really use resins that are longer working time, but I think it's a little bit harder to do that with the longer working time resins. That's why I like Alumilite Clear. Everything sets up so fast that you don't really have time for it to move around too much. And you still need to wait, either way, you're gonna have to wait till the end of the working time to pour. But it's gonna set up a lot faster if you're using something like Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow. So just check that out. Oh, shoot. I got to change that Streamlabs thing, huh? There's a lot of like little random links and things. Now, if you click that link, it'll take you to the new website. I already have that relinked or forwarded, but I don't really want NV Woodworks links around. There are going to be some out there that are old that I'm not going to change everyone, so I've just kind of redirected things. Yeah, anything longer than... Well... And this is the thing about those longer working time resins, because in theory, if you wait till the end of the working time, it should be okay, but those things, they don't harden. See, and this is actually one of the big differences between urethane resins. That's what Alumilite Clear Slow is. It's made, it's a urethane. So Alumilite Clear or Alumilite Clear Slow, not to be confused with Amazing Clear Cast. That's different, that's an epoxy. But urethanes, the way that they cure is they harden really quick, and then they kind of taper off over that, they have like about a 5-day cure time, like to get fully cured, but they like shoot up and get really hard really quick. And so, for something that has only 12 minutes of working time, it's literally going to harden in like minutes. So if you wait till about that 10-minute mark or so, we do it with temperature, but if you wait till that end, there's only literally like 2 minutes or 3 or something like that until it like hardens fully. Whereas with epoxies, they cure like over like a straight line period. It's just like, going up evenly. And I think the problem is, we also have to look at the demold times of these resins, right? The demold time, I could literally pull Alumilite Clear Slow out of the pressure pot, with something maybe like with this much resin. I could easily pull that in 30 minutes and it's going to be done. Like you could get away with that. I don't recommend it, but you could do it. With epoxies, they got to sit in the pressure pot for like 9 hours, which means that they're still kind of in a gel state. So they don't lock things in as easy. So that is kind of one of the, I guess, keys to doing this stuff. I just find it's so much easier with a quick setting resin. So anyway, like I said, if you want to see the whole thing and all the little tricks and goodies that I explained, I went through a lot of stuff. Check out that last week's replay for the live stream. All right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're kind of pressing your luck. And there's so many tough things about waiting till the end where if you wait too long, then you can't get the bubbles out after you pour it. So that's kind of the tough thing. Anyway, so this today's episode or live stream, we're going to be dealing with kind of the same thing. You got to wait till the end of the working time to lock in your colors. So if you're swirling your dyes around, you got to wait till the end to lock them in. So let me go get a color swirl blank. Oh, here's one. Here's a couple abalones that we made a while ago. So when you're pouring, you want to kind of swirl things up. You can even like kind of stir them around. But you need to wait till the end of the working time to get that separation going on. All right. And dyes are notorious for bleeding. So color bleed. And that's another reason why you're going to want to wait till the end of the working time to pour your colors together, because similarly even with the mica powders, you still need to wait till the end. But I don't really find that you get so much like just flat out color bleed where like if you poured, yellow and blue together, it would turn green. That's going to happen with dyes. Like it's going to be green. And actually one thing that I do find is with the Alumilite dyes, they tend to bleed a little bit more, especially not all of them, but the blue and the yellow, this was the train of thought that I was going down. Blue and yellow with Alumilite dyes, those things bleed. I mean, like every time. I used to make a Michigan Wolverines blank, and there was nothing that I could do to keep it separated. It would always have little green streaks in it, and I still even have a little bit of difficulty with orange and blue, purple and blue, or I mean purple and yellow. So you got to kind of watch some of these dyes when you're mixing them together. But one thing that I have found, I haven't done a lot of testing with these things, but the divine pigments seem to not tend to bleed as much. So that is kind of nice, especially if you're using a clear base resin, which is what most of us all use. Now my team color blanks, the ones that I sell on my website, they are made with Alumilite white resin. A lot of people wonder why my blanks tend to be easier to turn than everybody else's, and it's because I use Alumilite white. But I don't want to go into this. This one is extremely difficult to use. But I had the luxury of starting my resin casting with that. So I know how to use it. It has a 2-minute working time, which lets you lock in colors real well, but it's extremely tough to use, and I don't honestly even recommend it for most people because you can't use mica powders with it. It only works with dyes. It's totally opaque, so you could never do a clear casting. There's so many like drawbacks to it that there are like almost no people on the planet that I really recommend using it, using it for, especially like turning stuff, because most people want to make the types of things that we make with the clear resins. And I just think that it's much easier to go buy a clear resin and use a solid color dye than try working with that. I've done that in the past, people have wanted to try using it to make color swirl blanks, and they literally just give up no matter what I do. And I'd spend time with them. So I've given up even trying. If it's something that you want to try, then you're going to have to devote a lot of time to figuring it out. That's the problem. So I don't even recommend it for most people. Plus, you're going to have to have clear resin if you want to do clear, and that one if you want to do just all it does is solid colors. Now, I will say if you are trying to make like a single color of something and just need a quick resin, that one's a pretty good one. If all you're doing is making like one color, you're not trying to swirl it or do any of this other stuff, you're just mixing it up, pouring it into a mold, it does do some cool stuff. But I'll let you guys investigate that. I'd rather stick with the clear resins that everybody uses, and anything that I mention, the directions and the things that I like, the tips and stuff, it'll work with any resin. It's much easier to do that, and it's just easier for you guys. So there's the little disclaimer about that. But anyway, back to dyes. So what we're going to do is just kind of mix these things up. I'll kind of give you guys some tips as I go. What I'm going to do here is we got a 6 pen blank mold ready to go. I've been keeping that thing warm in the oven. Let's see here. So if you guys want to super chat, you can get some colors in. I think we're going to do 2 pours. There's going to be pen blanks, and then we're going to do a couple of handles. And again, kind of going forward, I kind of want to start working, like thinking about when we're making blanks on the stream, the mystery boxes, what we want to do is make some handles and make some pen blanks, and those are going to go into the mystery boxes that are going to be available on my website. Be looking next year for those, like to the public, to like just everybody. I'm going to have 3 people do some testing to make sure that the app works. I have an app it's a subscription box, so it's going to charge your credit card like every month. And I need to make sure that this system works before a bunch of people buy mystery boxes. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare. So be looking next year sometime for these. But that's kind of what we'll do is a lot of the streams will be making blanks to be putting into those mystery boxes. That's about half of them in the mystery box. Half the blanks are going to be things that we've made on the stream, and then half are going to be things that I make on my own that you guys don't know what they are. So it should be kind of fun. So yeah, I already saw that. Thanks, Doug. Let's see here. So why don't we do, real quick, I need to spray these guys with Stoner mold release. You always want to do that. Or with what, it doesn't matter which one, but you need to make sure that you're spraying your PVC pipes with a mold release so that your blanks don't get stuck in there. That's a nightmare too. So always use mold release on PVC pipes. if you are somebody that's using polyester resin, which at this point, when I got started, that's what everybody used, and I hated it. But at this point, not many people use that. If you're using polyester resin, though, that stuff shrinks so much that you don't even really need to use any spray on it. But for epoxies and urethanes, like Alumilite Clear, definitely every time, because they don't shrink as much. They don't shrink much at all. So spray your tubes. So I'm going to go over here. I go off camera just because I don't want to spray this in my casting area. I want to kind of aim it somewhere else, because there's always overspray. And I don't want to get the reason I'm worried about it, let's say, the reason I do that is because you don't want to get the overspray on stuff that you may want to cast someday. You know, let's say you had some, you know, some burl chunks or something like that sitting around and they were like ready to cast. If you spray this stuff and the overspray gets all over it, you're going to have some bonding problems. So always, you know, if you're like in a garage or something like that, where you don't have to walk 100 feet to get out the door, I don't, you know, there's nothing wrong with going outside and spraying it. That way the stuff just blows away. You don't have to worry about it. So let's do the PVC pipes first. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do all of them at once. I'm just going to kind of mix everything up and then pour it down. And we're going to do a little bit of a technique. We're going to do two different ways here. For vertical casting, this is a pretty awesome way to do it. We're going to mix up our resin. All right, so I'm going to give you guys kind of the heads up here. Is this one good? That's good enough. Clean enough. We're going to mix our resin up in one big bucket, all of the resin that we need for all three pipes. Then what I'm going to do is we're going to, however many colors that we need, we're going to have a cup for each color. All right, so for anybody that's kind of new to this stuff, if you're going to be mixing colors up, you need to separate resin and then add your dye to each different resin, because you're going to mix in the dye into the resin. You don't want to leave just dye. You don't want to just like drop it in there. It's when you turn it, it's just going to be dye that comes out and sprays you. So make sure that each color's got its own cup. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix everything up, and then we're going to wait. I'm going to use a temperature gun to check the temperature of my resin. I have this thing kind of set where I know what temperatures the resin needs to get to be the right time. All right, so the problem with if you just, and I used to do this, I used to use a timer, and you know, the resin that I'm using has a 12-minute working time, and so I would time things. But the problem is that's inconsistent, because it depends on you would have to, you know, mix the resin for exactly the same amount of time every time. So the timer isn't really a good way to go, and it also is very dependent on the temperature in your shop. Things kind of can change, so temperature or time is not a good way to do this. I don't know who came up with this idea, but somebody, it wasn't me, came up with this checking the temperature with one of these infrared thermometers. And in general, if you're using Alumilite Clear or Clear Slow, the temperature, you want to be at least 95 degrees Fahrenheit. That's kind of the minimum. That way you can keep your colors separated. And depending on the temperature, the ambient temperature in your shop, the higher the temperature is, generally the longer you're going to wait, and like the higher the temperature of your resin needs to be. So, you know, I'll show you what I'm doing as we're going, for anybody that doesn't know what's going on. But I'm going to be looking for probably about, in this case, the way that I'm doing it, I'm going to go at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's when I'm going to start kind of doing stuff. That'll be the time that I want to start pouring, basically. So it's kind of a mix everything up and wait. And this is another reason why I don't really, if you really love the resin that you're using and it's got like a 45-minute working time, then, you know, stick with it. But if you're not like married to your resin, I definitely recommend, you know, Alumilite Clear Slow, I think is a good happy medium between like a fast setting resin and a slow. It's like 12 minutes, gives you plenty of time to get everything done, but you're not sitting around waiting for your resin to be ready to pour. I would go nuts if I had to wait 45 minutes or 40, 30 even before I could pour. I would go do something else, and I guarantee you almost every time I would forget, and you know, your resin would set up in the cups. So I like doing it this way personally with this resin. So okay, we got 4 super chats. So why don't we do it this way? Let's do 3 colors on this first one. So Daryl, Frank, and Ann, you guys pick a color. We're only using dyes. And I got Alumilite dyes as well as the Divine Pigments. I don't know that I have every single Divine, yeah, I have just about every Divine Pigment color. So if you got a color on your mind, just throw it out there. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat here. Pick a color. Now, most of the, so one thing to note about Alumilite dyes, generally they're going to work with any resin that you could possibly think of. So Alumilite dyes are safe. Same goes for Divine Pigments, and that's why I use these two pretty much. That's about all I use for liquid dyes. But you'll see, I'm going to actually switch to the Sony cam real quick here. You will see that it says translucent dye or translucent yellow, okay? Most of your Alumilite dyes, so the yellow, the red, the orange, the purple, the blue, the green, is that it? I don't know. Most of them are going to be translucent, which means like if you add this to, you know, clear resin, it's going to be like stained glass, like totally see-through, but tinted, all right? Now that doesn't go for under the Alumilite ones. White is totally opaque, and this is how you can make opaque colors. If you add white and the translucent yellow together, you can make an opaque color. All right, so I just want to mention that too, but most of them are translucent. Your fluorescents, they're going to be like, I'm going to call it semi-translucent. They're not going to be totally see-through. All right, so fluorescents are going to be kind of opaque. Black is definitely opaque. Brown is kind of, but I don't think it's technically. All right, so just to let you know, there's transparent dyes, and then all the Divine Pigments, they're opaque, totally opaque. All right, so just a little side note there. But we can kind of mix and match. Now, another thing to note is you can mix your dyes together. I just told you that you can make an opaque yellow by mixing yellow and white. All right, but let's say that you wanted to mix, let's say you wanted like some special, you know, specific color of, you know, like orange or something like that. Well, let's do the blue. I got a couple of little things here. What did I say? Orange? Hold on a minute. I just got a brand new set of these dyes from Alumilite. So if you wanted a very specific shade of orange, maybe you wanted it more red, you can add a little red to the orange, or yellow to orange and red. You can mix them all up if you want. So they can all be mixed together. You can mix dyes with mica powders. You can mix Alumilite dye with Divine Pigments. All right, so they're all compatible with each other, and you can do whatever you want. Now, if you want to, you know, adjust your blue, maybe make it darker, then you can add some black. If you want to make it lighter, add a little bit of white. All right, so all kinds of cool stuff that you can do with these things. It's real fun. It's very easy. That's how I got my team color blanks. Most of them are pretty close. I try to get the colors really, really close to what the team colors look like. They're kind of inspired by a certain team usually. Let's see here. So we got, Daryl wants turquoise. Is aqua? So I got like a turquoise. I got a teal, so it's more like a blue. And then I got this kind of conch aqua. So let me know, turquoise can go either way. I know turquoise in general is kind of like blue, but let me know if you want conch or teal. All right, so we'll go with those guys. Let's see here. Ann wants red. Now, do you want Alumilite clear, you know, like the translucent red? Or do you want brick red? I got a brick red and I got a berry red from, whatchamacallit. So I'll give you three choices, Ann. Brick, berry, or translucent. Okay, let's see here. And Divine Pigment does not work with Alumilite mold rubber? Oh, yeah, okay. That's totally different though. That's silicone. They have silicone dyes if you want to make your silicone molds a different color. I do think you could possibly, don't go out and try this before talking to Alumilite, but I do think that maybe you could use the translucent ones. maybe, but they do have specific dyes for silicones. Okay. Divine Pigment Purple. Okay, we got, this is a good one, Sangria Purple. Come on, focus. And my camera settings are a little bit funky today. It's a little brighter than normal, I think, because somehow I put it on like automatic everything, and I don't remember doing that. So I couldn't figure out, the camera's upside down, and I couldn't figure out, I'm telling you, today has just been last minute everything. I do apologize if it's kind of blown out. Brick Red. Ooh, this is a new one. I haven't tried this one yet myself. And then, let's see, Daryl. Daryl wants either. I think this one, the kind of more blue one, just, I don't know. To my eye, that looks a little bit more like it'll go a little bit better. Honestly, you're probably okay either way, but let's go with the teal one. The other thing is I haven't really used that one. I've used a lot of aqua conch, actually. Haven't really used a lot of that teal, bluish kind of thing. Okay, so we got 3 colors, and I got 3 cups, right? I'm going to mix all the resin in this cup together at once, and then I'm going to pour out equal amounts or so. It doesn't have to be equal, you know, whatever. I'm just probably going to go with equal amounts, I think, and then pour a little bit of resin in each one, so same amounts. Now, we need to figure out how much resin goes in these pipes, okay? So I'm going to just use the formula. Actually, I'm going to go, let's see here. This is one of the nice things about having one of these books, but I don't know the last time I just used dyes in this. So let me do a little calculating. So you're going to go pi r squared, so 3.14 times the radius. These are 1.5 inch PVC pipes, so 0.75 squared times 3.14. Get the calculator going. 0.75 times 0.75 times 3.14 equals 1.76. And then I'm going to multiply that by, there's just this number that's going to get you where you want to be, times 0.554. All right, and that will get you to the number of ounces. That's not right. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I haven't done this for a while. I also got to multiply by the height, okay? So we're looking at about 6 inches long. So times 6. There we go. Now we're closer in the range. 5 points, so about 6 ounces. And then I'm going to use grams. That's what I always use. So to convert from ounces to grams, you're going to multiply by 29. All right, so about 170 grams per pipe, somewhere in that neighborhood. Let's just make it 175 each. And I got 3 PVC pipes. All right. So let's make some notes here. And if you weren't really following what I was doing here on this calculator, Alumilite's got the calculations on their website. So just you can just Google Alumilite volume calculator, and it'll take you right there. All right, so today is 11/17. Number 1, we're doing dyes and resin. We could call it color swirl. Maybe I'll change the name of the video because that's more kind of what we're doing here. All right, so number 1 is going to be PVC pipes, 1.5 inch handles. All right, so we are doing, let's see here, 175 times 3, about 525. I'm going to go a little over. I have a little extra room in this pipe anyway, so worst case scenario, if it's too much, I can get a ring blank or something out of that. So let's go with 550 total. And then we're going to split that into 3, so 550 divided by 2. Another reason I like Alumilite Clear is it's 1-to-1 mix ratio. Makes everything super simple. So we got 275 grams times 2. That'll get us our 550. And then 550 divided by 3 is about 180 or so in each one for each color. All right, so it's a little bit higher than that, but I'll just kind of get it close. So number 1 color is going to be, we're using Divine Pigments Teal Blue. Number 2 is going to be Divine Brick Red. Like I said, I haven't used this one yet. It's not even open yet. I got to open that jug up. And then we got Sangria Purple from Divine. All right, so now let's talk about how much do we add at this point. All right, now for Alumilite dyes, you don't really want to go over, and it depends on, so back in the day when I first got started, the way that they explained how much dye was the max, you would be applying it to half the resin. So in this case, 550 grams, let's just say that we wanted to make 1 color, all right? So the maximum amount that you could put in there was 5% of the part A, of half the resin, all right? So 5% of 250 grams. All right, so I'm going to just really quickly do the calculation here. So 0.05 times 250, that's 12.5 grams of dye is the max that they recommended that you put in the resin. Now, the other way to look at it, because that doesn't entirely make a lot of sense, is to just say, okay, I got 550 grams times 0.025, so 2.5%. Pretty close. What did I do? Yeah, I'm sorry. 13.75 is somehow I messed something up there. 13.75 is if you were factoring 5% against 250, and you're going to get the same answer. 0.025 times 550 is again 13.75. So either way you look at it, and I think that it's probably easier to just say 2.5% factored against all of the resin in your cup. All right, so then that's what we're doing. So we have 3 different colors. You don't want to go over. We're putting about 180 grams in there in each one of these cups. You don't want to go over. I'm going to multiply 180 times 0.025. I don't want to put more than 4.5 grams in there. All right, now there is a little leeway with this stuff, but it's a good rule of thumb is just stay under 2.5% of the amount of dye. And so we're going to weigh the dyes out as well. All right, and this is another reason why I think it's a good way to go is to have a scale. Even if you're using a volume measurement resin, it's good to have a scale just in case you need to weigh out and make sure you're not putting too much dyes in, too much dye in your resin. All right, so that's kind of an important one. Now, what can happen if you put too much dye in there is it could maybe alter the physical characteristics of the final thing, or it could just cause some issues with curing completely and ruin the blanks. So you don't want to put too much in there, all right? Let's see here. Is there anything that I'm missing? Let's see here. How much odor is there? That's a good question. Alumilite clear has the least odor. I find that it has the least odor, and it does have a smell to it, but it's just not gross, smelling like chemically smelling. It actually kind of smells like apple juice to me. I don't know if I'm the crazy one. Let me know if you guys think this too. Kind of smells apple juicy to me. So I think it's the best. Now, the problem is if you're working in your basement, you still need to clear the air because even if it smells good, that doesn't mean that it's safe. All right. So if there's no way for you to, actually filter out your air, to recycle, get the old air out and get new air in, then you're going to want to wear a respirator in your shop. All right. So always be working in a well-ventilated area. If you can, crack open a window, I don't know, some basements do have, windows and things. If you can crack a window open and get some air circulating to where you're getting some air in, fresh air in, and the old air out, you should be fine. But always be safe with this stuff. Wear a respirator if you can just, all you can do is smell, even if it smells like apple juice. If that's all you can smell, definitely you're going to want to put on a face mask. And you're going to need to get one that's set up for organic. What do they call it? Organic. Man, it's been a while since I've done this. Organic compounds or something like that. Can't think of the word, but wherever you buy your mask, and you'll want like a respirator. You're not going to put on a COVID mask or an N95 mask. All that does is for particulate matter, like dust. You need to have the like canisters that are for organic chemicals. Yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea to be as safe as possible. I'm not going to wear a mask while I'm doing live streams. And we have pretty good air circulation in this shop. We got really big ceilings, and we got fans that move. We have these huge fans in the ceiling that move air around in here, so I've never run into problems. But what can happen is you can develop a sensitivity to the resin, or some people are just allergic to, whatever's in certain resins. So, just always be careful. You don't want to get it on your skin. You don't want to be breathing the fumes or anything like that. If you're kind of in a bigger space, one thing that you could do if you're really against a mask is just get a fan blowing, blowing the stuff, like have it right here and blow the fumes somewhere else if you got kind of a big shop. But always stay safe. And if you have any questions about safety, if you're not sure for your situation, always contact the manufacturer. They can help you out. All right, let's see here. Or what? Yeah, I'm not sure about the dyes. These things are, I don't know. They're pigment-based dyes, and they have some other stuff in them to make them liquid. So I don't know if it's compatible with silicone. Most manufacturers have silicone dyes that you can use that are definitely compatible with silicones. All right, so we got all that stuff. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to put 3%. And again, I'm just used to working in the half the resin and doing a 5% as the max. So either way, what I'm going to do is just tell you, I'm going to think about this in my head, and I'm going to tell you how many grams. So we got about 180 grams in each one of these cups. I'm going to just do a quick measurement here. I'm going to put 2.7 grams in each one of these cups of each color. All right. And that's putting us at about the halfway mark of how much we can add. You don't necessarily need to load it up every time. The only time that I would recommend that you put like the max in is if you're going for an opaque color and it doesn't seem to be opaque, okay? All right, so I've zeroed my scale out. I got to switch cameras here. Zeroed this, you guys can't really see. Man, that's blowing it out. Why is it on automatic? I don't know how to change it. This camera's so new and it's backwards up on this thing that I'm just gonna leave it. Don't look at that thing. All right, so I've zeroed the scale out. I'm so bummed. I just bought 2 new scales. This thing every once in a while flips out and starts kind of going crazy, so I wanted to get a new one of these, but I also kind of wanted a bigger one. And I found one that was like $100, so it was a little bit expensive, but it had a much bigger plate on it, and it went from 0.1. It was sensitive to 0.1 grams. And it went all the way up to 10,000, where this one only goes to 3,000, which is amazing because most scales don't give you that range for if they're accurate to 0.1 grams. They usually only go to 500 or 1,000. So this scale is awesome, but I just kind of thought I'd try this other one out, see if it worked better. Both the scales that I ordered from Amazon don't work. I'm like, sweet. So I got to send both of them. Actually, 3. There's 3 of them that I ordered. I ordered another one just to see how it worked. And all 3 of them didn't work. And I was like, seriously, guys? Come on. Uh-oh. I'm out of resin. Hold on. I got to go fill my resin jug real quick. I'm telling you guys, I was not prepared for today's stream. So much going on. But I'm pretty excited about all the orders coming in on the new website and everything. Seems like everybody's having a good time with the new website, liking it. Liking the sale, it seems like, too. Actually, while I'm sitting here filling resin jugs up, I'm just gonna fill them. No, that's good, about halfway. While I'm sitting here filling these jugs up, I also wanted to mention that I have, for anybody that does buy stuff on my website, I have changed my shipping stuff. In the past, and this kind of stemmed from, originally all I sold was pen blanks. And I prefer using USPS priority mail for pretty much everything, because it's a little faster than first class. And I'm always kind of the type, like most people want their order as fast as possible. So I just went with a flat rate shipping scheme where no matter what you ordered on my site, it was flat rate. And then I would ship it priority. But the shipping prices have gotten so ridiculous at this point that I just can't, and they've messed around, you know, depending on how things like in boxes work and all this. The prices are so high that I thought it'd be smart to kind of adjust that and give people options now. So as long as it's kind of, you know, like only a few pen blanks or like the glitters or stuff like that, that stuff is going first class. And so there's an economy rate on the website that you can choose. So make sure if you're kind of, you know, you only ordered 2 or 3 pen blanks and you're cool with, you know, waiting maybe an extra day or so with the first class, then there's an economy rate. And then there's standard, which is priority. And then there's also a bulk rate for these boxes for stuff. If you order like a bunch of honeycomb or something like that, that's where that would kick in. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that. It's getting crazy with the shipping rates. We got 3 different rates, and then there's and this hasn't changed from the old website. Any order over $99 is free shipping. So okay, we got 275 grams times 2. Usually don't just pour buckets, but I've been pouring huge bowl blanks, and those pumps are just not the way to go for big blanks. So I don't really like pouring smaller things out of the jugs personally, but always go over. Oh, look at that. I actually got it pretty close. 275.2, close enough. All right, 275, part A. So anyway, just make sure, you know, when you're checking out, you pick the right, there's choices now for the different shipping. But if you want it as fast as possible, just go with the standard, and that'll be your priority mail. All right, 275, part B. And it was actually pretty easy to set up the different rates and all that stuff. On the new website. So I've been pretty happy. Like I said, Shopify has made things pretty simple. Maybe a little bit more of a learning curve if you've never really, you know, managed or built a website ever in your life. If it's totally new to you, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit harder, but there's so many videos. Shopify's got tutorials, and there's so many on YouTube from just random people for free that should be able to figure it out pretty easy. And Shopify has customer service too, so you can always ask them. All right, so we're going to mix this stuff up. Get things rolling here. You get discounted rates with Shopify too. It's all built into the system. It's so easy. Ah, you like the new site? I like it. It's kind of fun. I wanted to go for the simple, and I found this theme that had those circular you know, logos, and you can customize and do all this stuff with like just about anything. But I found this theme that it was like out of the box. Like I didn't have to mess around with anything. It was just set up the way that I like, in a way that I really wanted, with features that were simple. Just pop it in there and you're done. And so I think it's easy now. You can just, if you want glitter blanks, click the glitter blank picture. Like that's where you go. And then, once you get into a little bit deeper from, from the home page, then you just use there's like little links, in the menu and all that stuff. But it just seemed like, I don't know, navigating the site was a lot easier with the new one, I think. Finding what you want, hopefully. That was the hope. And then all the little nuances with Shopify, so many people use Shopify that we're all kind of like used to how it works. Like if you've bought a few things from people that have a Shopify site, like you're like, oh, yep, I'm getting, oh, my package is being delivered today. Oh, it's been delivered. Like you get all these updates and everything kind of works the same on everybody's site. So it's kind of nice. Familiar, easy. I like easy. All right, so I'm zeroing that out. We're going to put 180 grams in this guy. Now, when it comes to the dyes, if you're going, oh man, see, this thing flips out. Ugh, I need a new scale. So annoying. It just jumped 10. Look at this thing. It's going all over the place. I guess I just put a cup on, but it just jumped 10 grams. Luckily, I was watching it. But keep an eye on your scale. Sometimes they can be tricky. You want to, if you're going for very specific, like you're trying to color match and you need like a very specific recipe, you need to be extremely accurate with your measurements. Otherwise, it's not going to be, you're not going to get that same color the next time. All right, so if you're doing that kind of stuff, and just because, there's like an upper limit, not a bad idea to be a little bit kind of careful about how much resin are you putting in these cups and stuff, so you know that you're not going over. When it comes to mica powders, that doesn't really matter. It doesn't, the color's not going to change if you put more than, you thought you did in. There's no upper limit on how much you can put in there. I think you'd run out of mica powder before it caused any problems with your resin. Now, one thing about these Divine pigments, they're a pigment based, whereas the Alumilite transparent ones, they're like as far as I understand it, these are like a dye, which are super microscopic particles of color, all right, when it comes to dyes. When it comes to pigments, they're bigger chunks of color, and they can settle, those big chunks can settle to the bottom. So you want to shake up your jars every time, your bottles, every time you use them. Okay, so things jumping all over the place again. We want 2.7. Really disappointing. So the first scale that I bought, I would put like a cup or something on it, and it would say, like let's just say it said, 0.5 grams. And then I would take it off and put it right back on, and it would be like 0.9 grams. Like it wasn't even consistently off. It was messed up. So I just sent that back right away. Second one was the more expensive one, and it worked great out of the box. And then I came in the shop today, and it just didn't do anything. It had some error code on it, and it was like broke. And I was like, well, that's wonderful. That's going back. And then the third one, which I thought was going to be the backup, is exactly the same one as this. It didn't work either. I would turn it on, and it would just never zero out or be ready. Telling you, the trials and tribulations of a resin caster. 2.7 grams of sangria, purple. One thing I will say is these Divine pigments, they're pretty messy. Like they tend to get everywhere. They do have a new bottle. This is the old style. So they do have the new bottle like the Alumilite ones have now. But I don't know, for some reason, I just tend to get Divine pigment everywhere. This one's brand new, so let me pop this guy open. And let me just make sure. Yep, that's like a coating of something. I'm not going to get that out of there. For goodness sake. See? Getting it everywhere again. Okay, so we got that, and then again, I want to shake it up. Shake, shake, shake. That on the scale. Especially the new ones, they may have been sitting around for a little bit, so give them a good shake. Okay. And 2.7. Can't wait to see what this looks like. The berry red was all right, but it was a little bit more kind of like candy red, or, you know, I mean, berry red was a good name for it because it really wasn't like, you know, red, what you're thinking. It was more like kind of a, I don't know. Woo! That's a nice red, like, look at that. That's like fire engine red. Oops. Is that thing shaking? You having an earthquake in here? What's going on? Look at that. That's a nice color. Brick red. I like that. Now, one thing to mention about transparency with these divine pigments. So I say that they're opaque, but if you don't put enough in, they're not opaque. And that's very problematic when it comes to pen blanks, especially things where you don't really want to be seeing through. All right, so the way to check, same way as we do with mica powders, get your stick, pull some out, and if you can see the wood grain, then you need to add a little bit more. Now this looks okay to me. It's maybe a little on the transparent side. I think sangria is a little bit kind of on the transparent side of things. So, but I think we're safe in this case. All right, same thing goes with this. Pretty sure this one's very opaque, so I'm not worried, but pull it out, I can't see anything. Looking good, looking good. And you want to thoroughly mix in your dyes into your resin. Okay, get that nice and mixed in. And this also helps you ensure that you have mixed up your resin fully too. You know, the more you stir it, you can't stir resin. I mean, there's no such thing as stirring it too much. But if you don't stir it up enough, if you don't mix it up enough, then you can run into some problems. Okay, look at that. Now I don't have wood grain or anything like that, but you definitely can't see through this. All right. Now let's see what the temperature is. Let's check our temp. We're looking at 90 in there. Fahrenheit. 90.5 right there. Should all be the same. If you ended up mixing your cups separately, because another way you can do it is you can add the part A and part B separately in each cup. If you do it that way, then the one that you start mixing first, and I would say the one that you added the part B to first, that one's going to get hotter quicker and then successively down the line. Something to keep in mind. All right, I need to get plugs in the bottom of these guys. That would be a good thing to do before we pour the resin in, I think. And these plugs are available at Turner's Warehouse. I got a link to Turner's Warehouse down in the description. And I'm an affiliate for Turner's Warehouse, so I get a little kickback from them if you use my link. And it costs you nothing. Same prices and everything. Pretty sweet. Need another one of those. Oh, that's not the right side. Where's the other? Where's my other 1.5 inch? There they are. Okay. We got our plugs in. Got our pipes ready. It's nice using clear PVC pipes. That way you can see what's going on. Because like in this case, you got to make sure you can see in there so you don't overflow it or anything like that. So I personally, if you can, you know, spend the money on this stuff, because it is quite a bit more expensive than regular PVC, and it's not, you know, you can't get it at Home Depot usually or anything locally. You have to buy it online. And I have links to this where I get the clear PVC pipe. You can just go to ResinWorks Studio. I think it's /pages/tools. But just go to the tools I use page. There's a link in the menu on my homepage. And it shows where I get this stuff. And there's also the link to these plugs there too. Let me just pop a link in the chat. That way you guys don't even have to look for it. There it is. Boom. I follow the same theory with stabilizing. Stabilizing is not a scientific thing. Stabilizing, you know, it literally, color with I don't even mess around with it. I don't go for specific colors with stabilizing because it's a pain. So we're at 95. I'm going to wait till 100 on these guys. But stabilizing is a totally different thing. I really can't even go into it. But I mean, it's going to change depending on the wood species, even within the same species, depending on what the wood grain's doing, and just the color of it, because they're not all the same. That's why I like resin. Resin is clear. You're going to get the same result every single time if you do this, if you do it kind of scientifically. But even if you kept everything the same, from one wood species to the next, or even from, even from wood from the same tree, it may not come out the same exact color. So with stabilizing, it's all about experimenting, trying, and I wouldn't get too upset I wouldn't recommend for most people really super trying to get like some specific result. So we're at 100, just because I think you're going to be disappointed, and it's going to be a lot more time consuming and problematic than you really want. So here's a little bit of a fun way to go. They call this a dirty pour. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour all of our colors into one cup. All right, and I'm going to kind of pour a little bit slow. I intentionally kind of let it thicken up a little bit more than I necessarily would have had to. Could have probably poured this at 95 if I was just going for like pen blanks. But pouring vertically means that the stuff is going to drop down to the bottom, right? More gravity, further, it's moving further from the cup. Whereas pen blanks, it's maybe an inch or so. It's just not dropping and falling as much. So I find that this dirty pour method is a pretty cool way to go to get some swirling and not make a big turbulent mess. All right, so I just gave it a little bit of a stir there. I'm going to start with my smaller pipes and fill them first. See how it's all kind of marbled up in there? And then I don't have to worry about mixing it up. It's just coming out mixed. All right, there's one. Hopefully this worked. Now, one thing you could do, if you can kind of hold on to your stick or get rid of it, you could also kind of tilt your pipe so it's not kind of, so you're pouring it a little bit easier. You can even kind of twist it a little bit if you wanted. It's a little tough, holding all these things and doing all this stuff, but can get some pretty spectacular results. Okay, there we go. And then the third one. Pour the rest in there. Hopefully I'm kind of on screen. I don't think I'm. No, it's kind of hard to see, but. Pretty close on each one. I went a little bit thicker than I wanted on here, but I don't know if you can see. This one did bleed just a little bit. We got a little bit of purple going on, but you can see there's some teal down in the bottom. And so we're gonna have striations. I think I did a better job with this one, pouring, like kind of holding it on its side. Look at that. So I didn't even have to mix it up or do anything. I can't see anything in this one, but pretty cool way to go. And that works with dyes as well as with mica powders. You can do that same thing if you're using micas. But again, they call it the dirty pour method, and it's kind of an interesting way to go. Makes it simple to pour in there. Now, another thing that you can do is put a funnel on the top of your PVC pipe, and then that makes it a little easier, especially when it comes to like pen blanks. sometimes they can be kind of tough to get that cup, you know, especially if you're trying to do multiple colors all in the same thing and mixing them. You're holding all these cups and doing all this stuff, and it's just a pain. So the simple way to go is just pour all your colors in one cup first and then dump them out. And then into the, I guess I forgot to put on the double cam. We got this into the pressure pot here. And these guys will have to stay in the pressure pot. Again, this is with the Lumelite Clear Slow. Your resin, if you're using something different, is going to be different. But, and even I would say, depending maybe on the temperature in your shop. But 70 degrees in my shop. I can pull those in 2 hours and be, you know, absolutely sure that they're done. All right. Always don't go over the max PSI in your pressure pot and you will stay safe. If you go above that, it could fail. You don't want that. All right, so we'll put this aside. Now, I will say though, when it comes to dyes, and we kind of saw that on that first pour, I could have maybe actually waited till about 105, 108 for the temperature, so Fahrenheit. That might, again, it's a dance that you do when you're trying to figure out what temperature to pour things at. You don't want to wait too long, because if it starts setting up while you're pouring it, it's kind of toast, right? Or maybe you'll get it all in there, but you're not going to get the air bubbles out. All right, so it's kind of a dance. You know, you don't want to be too early, because then the colors will bleed. You don't want to be too late, because then air bubbles and maybe even failure, basically. So I probably could have waited in that case, especially for a vertical pour like that, again, where it's dropping so far. Even pouring the colors into that one cup, it's a far drop compared to just trying to pour into something like this. This is why I like pouring trays a little bit better when it comes to color swirl for the most part, because I just think it's much easier and you can control you know, the bleeding and like how you're pouring stuff a lot easier. But you can, you know, if you get a lot of bleed the first time, then maybe try to, you know, extend that number, go up. So we poured it about 100 degrees Fahrenheit on this one. To be honest, I think I probably could have waited easily till 105 and probably would have gotten better results, especially on that first pipe. All right, so the first one is going to be a lower temperature and it's going to be a thinner viscosity, more chance for bleeding. As you know, pour all your different pipes or whatever it may be, it's heating up more and thickening more. So by the end, it was pretty good, I think. And I was being a little bit more careful holding that pipe sideways too. But I think if I would have waited, maybe like I said, 105 to 108, I think I could have poured them all for sure. And it might have, you know, might be a little less bleedy if there is any. It's kind of hard to tell. This is another reason why I don't love vertical pours with color swirl and all that. It's almost impossible to see what's going on until you actually turn it. But anyway, so hopefully a couple thoughts, and maybe some of you guys haven't seen, you know, that technique with the dirty pour method. Hey, Jamie, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody else. I forgot to oh, you guys did in the super chat, put purple and red. Sorry about that. Thanks for the super chat to everybody, and thank you for the kind words. I'm glad that you like the rebrand. I'm super stoked about it, honestly. I know that it's silly because nothing's like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go, you know, sell, you know, river tables or something. I'm not changing anything that I do, really. It's just like a name and a logo and a website, but it's fun. I don't know. I really like the new logo and all that kind of stuff. And it's fresh and new, you know, so invigorating a little bit, I would say. And I'm just happy, you know, I haven't run into one problem. I haven't run into one issue yet with the website or anything. Nothing like blew up in my face, which I generally tend to just anticipate that happening usually. So anyway, thanks for joining the chat and for the super chat. Joining the stream, I should say, and for the super chat. Let's see here. Yeah, wood stabilizing is tough. I don't have a theory when it comes to wood stabilizing. And you guys see, you know, you've seen me do like the multi-die stabilizing and stuff like that. Like That's cool if I want to make something kind of red. I'll put a bunch of red dye in there, and whatever, like mentally, I don't care what it comes out like. It's just, it's going to be kind of red. You know, if it's, now here's one thing to note. If you dye stabilize a piece of wood and it's not dark enough and it didn't take enough color, run it again. You know, it's as simple as that. You can do it multiple times and get a little bit more color each time. It's not awesome, and you're better off getting it right the first time, but you can kind of combine that like that. Now, if it's too much, you're hosed. There's no way to get it out of there, obviously, but yeah, I don't worry about colors. There's people that make, well, I don't know if they make a lot of money or not, but there are people that do wood stabilizing, and I'll just let them try to do that stuff. I don't have enough time personally. Christina's here. What's up? Let's see. Okay. So second thing, what do we got here? So we're gonna do, we had 1, 2, 3. So we got Lelia and JP Woodwork, Mr. Jamie Page. And if anybody else wants to super chat, you can get in on the color choices. So what we're doing is dyes for anybody that's new to the stream, especially Jamie. And so all we're doing is liquid dyes. So you can pick any color you want. We got Alumilite dyes. They're kind of they're transparent. And then we got the Divine Pigments, which are your opaques. And fluorescence and pretty much any color you want. Let me know. We're going to be doing a batch of pen blanks next. All right, so a 6 pen blank batch. And then this time we're going to just, do it normal. We're not going to do the dirty pour method. I find for pen blanks, one thing, I have so much experience doing this that there's no reason for me to do that dirty pour thing. I can get better results by just pouring it, but I think everybody can. For like I said, if you're only pouring into a flatter tray, I think it's much easier just to pour each color the way that I do it. And everybody's got their own little techniques and things. There's different ways of doing stuff. I just share generally how I do it. I don't have any, special way of doing it necessarily, but I guess it is kind of my, a way to do it. There's different ones. So let's see here. You're working the night shift. Oh, man. Whew. I bet you meet some interesting people on the night shift. I know that I've been, we've had some late nights, and I'm sure that the cab driver is just shaking their head at us when I was younger. Yeah. Yeah, so back in the day, these were the original bottles. Actually, let me just get one that has their branding. These were the original bottles. All right, and I'm gonna go for the overhead cam. And this is how their bottles used to come for Alumilite. Sorry, wasn't focusing. Now, here's the problem. The top of this thing comes apart, all right? See how there's a little nozzle and there's the bottle. All right, now the problem was the tip, if you didn't puncture it with something, and what I would do, I actually have a video on this. Luckily, they changed their bottles, so you don't have to worry about this anymore. But you would want to grab like an ice pick. I would literally take the little tip off, put it on the desk, and then jam an ice pick into it so that you open up that hole. Because if you don't, what ends up happening is the first time you squeeze this, I'm going to put the cap on it and show you. People squeeze, and it's not coming out because it's got a super tiny hole. And you keep squeezing, and then that tip pops off and dumps your dye into your cup. I'm talking like every single person on the planet that ever, like, let's just say, before, that when they had these bottles, like every single person that was like kind of new to dye casting, and they'd go buy their dyes and do all that stuff, everybody's gotten that. And so, yep, I feel your pain. Hopefully that was the situation, and we don't have other situations now, but that was common. Like everybody would get that. It was nuts. All right, so Lelia, dark blue, and is Jamie here? Green, there you go. And DOD green. Oh, ooh. I have not actually used the DOD yet. Look at that. It's still covered. All right, cool. Now, do you guys, Lelia and Jamie, do you want a Lumelite dye, like a transparent? I wouldn't recommend that because we're doing pen blanks. Generally, that's just more work for the person turning the pen. But if you want to see transparent in these, let me know. One thing that's kind of fun with pen blanks is to do like, you can do like like one color is transparent. That's not a bad way to go. I'm telling you, I get this stuff all over me every single time. Especially when I'm opening new bottles. Oh God. I don't like getting dye all over my hands because then I get them all over my shirts and everywhere else. All right, so again, we want to shake this thing up pretty well, especially on the first time opening brand new ones. Yeah, I tried the vacuum pressure thing. I didn't find that it really got me any better results necessarily. But I have seen that some people recommend that, but I didn't really find that I got any, like I said, any different results. So, but if it's faster, if it works for you, definitely go for it. I know that there are some people that advocate doing it. Another way to deal with that, if you don't have a pressure pot, you can just leave it sitting for longer, under, like let it soak longer. Interesting, but drunk people. You got ocean blade. Yeah, I know. I'm telling you, every single person that's used those old bottles has had one of those, and it's the worst when you're like when you dump it in the resin because it's just done. You know, opaque for the dark blue. Okay, so we got. I'm gonna go for a little bit even darker than what it is. We have Abyss Blue. I think there's enough in here. I like adding just a little bit of black to this, just a little bit. I might even add, I want to do a little bit of an experiment with that because what I find is if you add black to this one, so Abyss Blue, I was trying to get like a nice dark blue. Now, actually, out of the bottle, okay, so I was trying this with Lumelite White, and that's another reason why I don't really recommend people mess around, especially if you're using dyes. It gets really tough because you got to account for white because that stuff turns white. So this is much easier for most people is just to get these pigments. But I do want to see what happens adding a little bit of yellow, the transparent dye to this Abyss Blue. And we might even add a little bit of black. So again, I was saying that you can mix and match these things. If you want it a little darker, add a little black. If you want it lighter, you can add a little white, but you do have to kind of watch out. If you do want to get, very specific colors, what I recommend is go buy a color wheel. All right, and this will tell you what you need to add to get, to add things together. What happens when you add, yellow to blue, you get green, and all this kind of stuff. It just kind of helps you out figuring out, what do I need to do to adjust these things. And there's a few resources online that could be helpful. I haven't used anything for a long time, but they will kind of give you estimates. Like for it was more for like painters. You could take estimate what it would look like if you added certain paints together, certain colors. That's not going to give you an accurate representation of resin dyes, but like the specific color, because they're all a little bit different, but that can kind of help. There are a few resources out there. Gojo is a miracle cleaner, yeah. Okay, so we got opaque. Let's see, what was green? Okay, so do you want like a lime green, or do you? So I guess let's go with Okay, well, did Jamie say, did you want, Jamie, did you want an opaque dye, or do you want a transparent for the green, for your green? But if you don't want to do that, then we got like this is kind of a green teal, and then we got a key lime green. This is a great color, I will say. I always like that one. They totally nailed it on that one. I'll pick the green. Let's go with the lime. Let's do the lime. I mean, it's key lime. Let's do it. Okay. So we're going to add a little bit of that to that. We're going to add a little of that. We got a dark green. So dark green, light green, and purple. Or not purple, blue. Why did I say purple? Okay, so we're doing pen blanks. Let me get my little book. You guys can't see this most likely because it's kind of blown out. But all right, so number 2, pen blanks. We're using I call that my 6 blank mold. It'll produce 6 pen blanks. And we're going with slow set clear. Okay, so that mold holds 540 grams. We're doing 3 colors. Let's like kind of mix it up. A lot of times I'm not going to usually just break it into 3. I'll kind of, do some like kind of messing around with like 50% and 25 and 25. Let's do that. All right. So what was the first color? So Lelia had she had the blue. So let's do blue mostly. Since she was first. We're doing let's see. So let me figure out how much this is. Hold on a minute. I'm going to estimate 550, just be a little over on this. So we're going to go with 275 grams of the blue. So we're using Abyss blue. And we don't want to go over, we don't want to go over 6 or 7 grams. Now, I also have found that you can get away with putting a little bit more than 5, or the 2.5% for the full cup of resin with these. In some cases, you might need to, but again, I wouldn't recommend going over 2.5% factored against all the resin, the A and the B in the cup. So we're going to go with 3. Let's see, 1.5. Let's see, 0.015 times 275. I'm starting out with 4 grams of dye for the Abyss blue. And I want to add a little bit of this yellow. Now, again, this isn't like 2.5 of each color. Like all the dyes that you put in there need to be less than 2.5%. So let's see here. We're looking at about 138 and 138. All right, so I'm going to put 2 grams in. So we got lime green and we got DOD green. That'll be kind of fun. Blue with these kind of weird green swirls in them. That'll be kind of fun. Okay, so we got our recipe. We got everything going. I highly recommend take notes on every single pour that you do. Just makes things easier, and you can always go back and find what you did. Just trust me, if you're like me, you will not remember. Especially if it's like a year later, you're like, I don't know. I have no clue what I did. All right, so 275, part A. I saw Kelly's response about the stabilizing. Now, again, that sometimes that can kind of depend on what material it is, because I didn't really find it that it did a whole lot of anything for me. I might have to look into that again, try it again sometime. I do need to run some. It's kind of tough because stabilizing is not something that I really like spending a lot of time doing. I just like getting it done. $275, part B. I actually kind of like just the soaking method anyway, because I can just let it sit there, not worry about it. But when I say that you can leave it in, I mean, sometimes you need to leave it in for a long time also, you know, like a week, you know, if you really want stream color. But one thing to keep in mind is the wood will only soak up so much. It's not like you can force more in with 80 pounds of pressure. That's not going to do anything. It will increase the, you know, above atmospheric pressure. It will add a little bit, but not that much, I don't think. It's not like it's not like pressure treating stuff with 1,000 psi. One other thing to mention about that, the like having it soak stuff up, the drier that you get the wood, the more it's going to want to soak it up. So just kind of keep that in mind. I'm not saying that you didn't get it dry or anything like that, but I find that if you know, especially like with like Buckeye burl, I don't know, that stuff just soaks up cactus juice because it's so kind of porous and all that stuff. So like super porous woods and dry woods like that, I don't really think you need to pressurize it. It's going to soak it up. You can get a good amount soaked up just by sticking it in a cup of it. Maple burl works pretty good. There's certain woods that really take dye well too. Kelly, what kind of woods do you usually do? Curious. But like I said, I also want to back out and say that I am absolutely no expert. I don't even claim. I don't want to be an expert with dye stabilizing. I don't care. I get good enough results for what I want to do personally, and there's people that are much better at it. So I do want to kind of do a little disclaimer there for people that I'm just kind of talking about my own experience. All right, so we need one, let's see here. I'm going to leave the 275. We're going to do the Abyss Blue in the cup. So I'm going to put 138 grams in each one of these cups. Okay, we got one, let's see here. I'm just going to add the dye while we're sitting here. We're doing DOD green, 2 grams. I haven't used the DOD yet. I wanted to. Just never got around to it. All right, so we got 2 grams of that. I want to look at this and see. Ooh, that is a nice color. Yeah, look at that. Like camo green. Finally realized, it took me a while to figure out what DOD meant. It's Department of Defense, I think. I'm guessing. Took me a while. Or maybe somebody told me. I was like, I don't know what that means, but it's cool. All right, so we got zero that out. Another 138 grams. And we'll zero. And we'll add a little bit of lime green. Always shake, like I was saying, you always want to shake these guys. Okay, 2 grams of lime green. Jim made it. What's up? Okay. That, we'll put these guys down here, out of the way. I love the key lime green. Look at that. That's crazy. I love that color. I think these are going to be some pretty cool looking. This is going to be a good mix of colors. I don't know. What do you guys think? Who's excited to see what these pen blanks look like? I'm really excited to see how those pipes turn out too. And we'll get this guy on here. We need, I'm going to put 4 grams of the Abyss Blue in here. And I'm going to play around with this yellow just because I want to see what happens to it. And maybe some of this black. So I'm just gonna be kind of playing here because I'm curious. I don't know if I have enough in here. Oh man, I got a new one. We might actually get there if it keeps doing what I'm doing here. We're at 3. Starting to fizzle out a little bit. 3.6. .7. Okay, close enough, and I think that one's done. All right, so here we go. Yeah, we can make that darker, I think. What do you think? Now, one difference that I've noticed between the Alumilite, so Alumilite's got a white, and so does Divine, and each of them has a black. What I've noticed is the Divine white pigment, whatever, dye, this stuff is like more potent than Alumilites. You can end up using less of this stuff and get the same, like, you know, opacity and like whiteness. Now, it's opposite for black. The black from Alumilite is more, let's say, concentrated or something like that, than the carbon black from Divine. So it's kind of an interesting thing to note. That if you're going to be doing, if you need to use a lot of white dye, if you're making a lot of things white, and I'm actually gonna put this on the scale. We're going to put 1 gram of black in here. I want to see what this looks like. Okay, maybe a little over that, but we're going with 1 gram of black. That ought to make it nice and dark. Kind of like a navy blue look. But what I was saying is, if you're doing a lot of things like big blanks and you need to put a ton of white dye in there, I might recommend. Well, here's the tough thing: the Divine pigments are like twice as much as Alumilite dye, so in the end, the cost savings isn't really there. But if you're doing that and you don't want to put as much dye in, you can kind of get away with less. Yeah, so there we go. That's a little. See, you can kind of see the color difference. Up at the top of the stick, that was what it was. Now it's a little bit darker. But one thing I want to see is if I add a little bit of yellow. Sometimes I'm curious what adding a little bit of yellow to this mixture will do. So let's put 0.5 gram, 0.5 of this yellow dye. Just kind of curious. A lot of times yellow can brighten things up also. And I've run into issues using that where it ended up trying to turn, and I need to do this. It was actually using it with Alumilite white, but I am kind of curious what this is going to turn out like. It was turning out kind of gray. Oh, that, yeah, it turned kind of green. kind of turned it green, guys. Okay, so we're going to combat that. I'm going to put a little bit of Alumilite. I don't know why I didn't think of that. We're going to put a little bit of Alumilite's blue. The Alumilite dyes are a lot more concentrated. Like they're just their colors. So just to let you know, you can get more color change going on using. And now I'm not weighing this because we just need to get this back to blue at this point. It's kind of green. I think I screwed it up, guys. We might have some super different green colored blanks going on right now. 3 colors of green, possibly. I don't know. Why didn't I should have pulled my color wheel out. Of course it's going to turn green. Wasn't thinking, guys. Wasn't thinking. So we got kind of a dark, that actually looks like the Eagles color. So we turned it into 3 colors of green. Sorry, Lelia. There's nothing more I can do here. If I add too much more of this blue, it's just not going to work out too well, I don't think. So, we're probably at the right temperature now for pouring, too. Oh, pretty close. 93. I'm going to wait till like 97, maybe. 97 or so. What are these cups looking like? 96. Yeah, I don't think there's any way for me to get that blue back. One thing I could do, and I don't know what it would actually do in the end, I could add mica to this. Possibly, but I don't want to do that on this episode. Because you could add more of that and get some color in there, and you're not, adding to that dye number. So, anyway. Oh, ash and oak, yeah. Oh, maples, yeah. Yep. No problem with 3 green. Oops. I don't know what I was thinking. Well, the problem was, like, I put too much in. I should have... I wanted to do that, and realistically, the plan would have been to add, like, a drop of yellow, not half a gram. I just wasn't really thinking. Get me on the live stream, and my brain shuts off. Okay, I think we're pretty much there at this point. Should be at about 97 or so. Where'd my gun go? Oh, we're way over that. We're good. All right, so let me get this thing in the middle so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. So this is the way I do it. There's all kinds of different ways, methods, and theories on how to pour. I like to just kind of play around with it. Pour a little bit, pour the next color. Actually, I think these are going to be pretty wicked blanks, though. I will say that. Even with a little bit of a whoopsie. I do think the blue would have been cool, too, though. Absolutely. And you can do, like, this kind of thingy. Circle patterns and stuff. Whatever you want. getting a little thick at the end here. Kind of waited a little too long, but not too long. Didn't wait too long, I don't think. And actually, I kind of like using these wooden sticks to. I'll give it a little bit of a stir there. So that's looking pretty interesting, I think, guys. What do you think? I don't know. I think we got some interesting stuff going on in there. Tell you what, this green, I'm telling you, that's pretty much the Eagles green right there. So you're welcome. If you're making team color blanks, that's all you need to do is whatever I just did. Okay, into the pressure pot you go. And we'll get this up to 80 psi now. Again, do not overpressurize your pressure pots. Mine can handle, not 80, I'm not going to go up to 80. I go to 70 personally. Mine, the max PSI for these pressure pots is 80 PSI. I go to 70. Not a whole lot of reason to go to 80 necessarily. But, you know, whatever your max is, don't go over that. Part of the reason I don't go to 80, there's a couple reasons. So, one, if for some reason my gauge is off, that gives me like, you know, 10 PSI of a little bit of a safety net. All right, so that's just like kind of a personal, like added safety thing. Probably not necessary at all, but I do it. The other thing is, and this is, I don't know how this works, but you know, equipment takes on wear, you know, over the course of its life, right? And so my theory with this also is I do this a lot. You know, I'm using these things daily. So in my head, part of the reason I do this is because I think maybe it will prolong the life of it. I don't know if that's true, but probably a little bit, you know. It'll just let it live longer. Now these pots are so bulletproof anyway. I don't know if it's like something to worry about, but it was something that I adopted when I was using a Harbor, because I started out with the Harbor Freight pressure pot, and with those things, the way that they work, they clamp down and like there's a pin that like dents the lid. And that's what that's where this kind of train of thought came from, with, you know, trying to prolong the life, because I'm just looking at this Harbor Freight pressure pot that I know is made with, you know, junk materials and low quality standards. And I'm thinking, you know, whatever way I can kind of, you know, prolong the life of this and keep it as safe as possible. That's where that was born. I don't think that CA Technologies pots are, I don't know, they'll probably live longer than me, but you know, I don't need to go to 80 either. So just wanted to share a little philosophy with that. You like the camera angle? Yeah. And I keep forgetting, actually, I got this camera angle too. So where you can see, you know, what I'm doing. I kind of forgot. I don't know. Today's kind of like a blur. You know what I mean? Just a blur in my brain. This whole week has been nuts. I've been going to bed late because there's like, you know, if you change your website or, you know, do all this stuff, like I've had to change all the social media, like logos and names and accounts and all this. There's just a lot of stuff going on with this rebranding. And I just keep finding new things. Like, you know, I was looking at, there's a robot thing that puts links in from, where'd it go? Oh, from Streamlabs. And I got to change that link out. And so like, there's all these little things that you got to like change out. So I've been staying up late. So this whole week's been kind of crazy, but super fun. So again, if you are new around here, I used to be called NV Woodworks. That was my business name, the channel name. And I have rebranded to Resin Works Studio. And I really like that idea. And the reason, again, is just because I wanted to have something more focused on like a name that reflected what I do, which is resin casting at this point, not really woodworking. So go check out the new website. There's a big sale going on. Launch 15 is the code. So I'm going to actually type that out one more time. There's a thing on a little pop-up thing on my website too, but just so you guys know before you go there, I forgot to put this in my other video. Launch 15 is the code, so the whole website for the rest of the month is 15% off. And I would recommend signing up for the email newsletter also, guys. I'll be posting stuff on social media, but just so you don't miss anything, everything definitely gets in the email newsletter. We're going to be doing some Black Friday sales, and one of them that I always do every year is the ebook, The Beginner's Guide to Resin Casting. So I'll let you know right now, that's going to be 50% off for Black Friday. So if you're thinking about buying it, you might want to wait. And then I'm going to do a couple other little discount things, maybe like some slightly different ones Friday. So it's going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We'll be doing maybe a different deal every day or something like that. Honestly, I haven't even thought about it, but I want to do something. So go check the site out. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's a little bit more, I don't know, I think it's easier to navigate and find exactly what you want. One thing to note, at this point, the ones that are called team color blanks, those are all made with the Alumilite white resin, which is softer than even Alumilite clear, which Alumilite clear is fabulous to turn, but Alumilite white is literally like hot knife and butter. And it's totally opaque, so that's what all the team color blanks are, which most of them were in the before anyway. But I had a couple of Alumilite clear blanks with some mica powders in there. So I changed everything out, so they're all Alumilite white. All the rest of those color swirls and whatever other kind of blanks are under specialty blanks now. So just to kind of give you guys those two little things. But anyway, let's see here. Is there any other questions? There was 3 colors. Well, yeah, I know. 3 colors. Yeah, I kind of like that. I don't know. That was a fun pour. That dark, that really dark green. I don't know. I think it's going to look okay. All right, so I don't see any questions or anything like that. I do need to get rolling here because you guys, we're having this huge sale, and with all the big launch stuff, I have been busting my butt trying to get pen blanks made and keep everything, stocked up on the website so you guys don't get there and you're like, oh, they're out. For pen blanks, I'm trying to think, for anything, pretty much everything on the website, if for some reason something's out of stock, it's going to be back in stock within a few days. I'm constantly rolling out blanks. So just to let you guys know, if you do see something that's like either low or less than you wanted, or whatever, out, they will be back. And if anybody ever has any questions about anything like that, just shoot me, there's a contact form on the website. So just go through there and I get those things directly to me. So Kelly's asking, how do I cut the blanks and make them look clean? There's a couple things. The blade choice, if you use a really terrible blade, it's not going to cut very well. So that's one thing. A good table saw. I have a professional cabinet saw kind of thing, like a heavy saw. You're going to get less vibration, so that also plays into it. And then the other thing is feed rate. If you give it a nice even feed rate and have good, I use those. Everybody yells at me because I do this, but I have a push block that holds the blank, really well. I'm not 10 feet away using these little push sticks. I get my hand on top of it and keep it, very sturdy. And then, like I said, just give it a nice even, don't go too fast, don't go too slow kind of thing, even feed rate through the blade, and I just get good results. Now, part of the thing is the Alumilite white, depends on the blank. And it also depends on if your blade is sharp or not. I constantly send my blades out to be sharpened, so I always have a sharp blade on there. But the Alumilite white resin cuts, like I said, like butter. So that you get a little bit of a smoother cut with softer materials too. I do everything on the table saw. All right, Daryl, thanks so much, and thank you and everybody else for the super chats. I really appreciate it, guys. I actually, Hugh snuck in here with a 5-pound super chat, so thanks, Hugh. I appreciate it. Let's see. No other questions, I don't think. All right, guys, so like I said, I'm going to be cranking some blanks out. Now, we got these 2 in the pressure pots, and I will be posting this weekend. I will be pretty busy. I have a lot of blanks to make, but I will be posting a short demolding these things, and I'll probably, I'm just going to guarantee, maybe not demolding them because nothing really ever happens. I'm just taking it out of the mold, but definitely once I get the pen blanks cut up, and everything out of the molds, then I'll post a little bit of a short video here on YouTube and the same things on Instagram and Facebook, so you can see what these things look like. I can't wait to see this swirl pattern, that color combo. What tooth saw? So I use a very specific saw blade. I use the Tenryu, Tenryu. I'm going to put up the tools I use page link. Again, I got a link to exactly the blade. I've done some testing and actually got this recommendation from Curtis Seebeck, who's been doing casting longer than I have even. He recommended this blade specifically. It's a thin kerf blade, 40 tooth combo. But I used to use forest blades when I did woodworking, and they're about the best blade, most people will agree, on the planet. But they don't last as long nor cut as well in resins, I've found, and I don't know if it has to do with the tooth angle or what's going on, but the Tenryu blades definitely cut better. I find they last longer and they cut better, so I always recommend those. That's what I use. If you want to check them out, they're not cheap. I don't use cheap blades. That has something to do with it. I wouldn't buy a $5 blade and expect to get good cuts on it, kind of thing. You don't necessarily need to buy the most expensive one to get a better cut, but I found, like I said, Tenryu blades. It's Tenryu Gold Metal, I think is what it's called, but I got a direct link to them on that tools I use page. So go check it out. All right, I think I'm gonna get going so I can get some more work done. I appreciate you guys all hanging out with me today. I know it was kind of a, I don't know, simple one. We didn't really do any Dunkin' junk type stuff, but I always enjoy just making blanks and just doing different color combinations. I don't think this is one thing I haven't told anybody yet. I don't think, maybe on the podcast I mentioned it, but the little logo guy, right? For the new brand. I'll just pop this up here. So that little logo dude, it kind of looks like he has a little bit of a face, but anyway. So I'm going to put it back up while I talk about this, just in case someone wasn't looking. It's like a little flask. They call that a flask in chemistry. And I picked this logo and I just loved it. It literally exemplifies everything that I love about resin casting, which most of it, my most favorite part of resin casting is experimenting. And so that's why I chose that little kind of chemistry flask experiment guy, and he kind of has a face, and I kind of like that too. And so, it's my favorite part of it. So that logo fits perfectly. I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, that's what I picked, and I just wanted to share that with you guys. I love the experimenting. So I hope you guys get in your shop and experiment a little bit with some resin and have a good time, definitely. So I will see you guys all next Wednesday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. We'll do a little bit more resin casting. I'll try and get a plan together so that we actually have, something a little bit more fun than just color swirl blanks next week. But hopefully you guys got some good information out of this one, enjoyed watching these blanks come together. And again, thank you guys for joining the fun, and big thank you to all the super chatters. I really appreciate it, guys. So I'll see you guys all on the next live stream. Have a good night and a good weekend, and get in the shop and go resin cast.